Many of you have already had a chance to meet Kristen in the past and know how dynamic she is and motivating. So I'm going to turn it over to Kristen.
I always think it's hard to live up to when Diane introduces me. So thank you for this opportunity to be here. I think we did this about a year ago last year, although the weather didn't cooperate. So it kept getting pushed off. But I'm so excited to be here. It's one of my favorite places to come back and teach and speak. And to Matt and Tim, who created this, and Diane, who found a way to have this be as a podcast. I think what we heard last year was, this is great. I want to do it, but how do I get other people excited to do it? And lo and behold, they found a solution. I turn everything over to them. So they found a way to hopefully connect with the people who maybe really need aspects of this, that you don't have to put it all on your shoulders to go and sell this and get people excited about it and explain it and know all the details. You can let me do that and connect with those people and help them in any way, shape, or form. But hopefully, as building captains and any administrators that are here, just supporting it, just understanding kind of the ins and outs of what this is and why we feel like it's a really great thing to bring to your staff and to anybody. I hope that helps. And I hope today, just to give you some really pointers, you have your own packets. They explain everything. I'm not going to waste your time. I know how busy you are with telling you things you can read, but I want to give you the whys. What is this and why do we do it and how do we do it? Just the gist. And beyond that, like Diane said, anything that you possibly could need, reach out to me. I'll stay today and answer questions. I will be there for phone calls or email or anything of the such. So how many of you did the 10-day last year or helped organize it at your schools? I know we have some new building people. Okay, so there's a handful of you. And after doing it once, is it something you would think about doing again? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. And doing this challenge really just means committing to something. That's what I hope I can instill in you and in any of the people. For a 2-week period, I will coach you every single day. In that 2-week period, if you find 10 days, to choose something that you're going to do as a challenge. So it might be that you don't want to do the meal plan part, but you're going to walk every day and you're going to get a partner and do that. It might be that you're going to start at the base level, which I think is the most important level, and work on the thinking things, because every day we send something about that, something about my intention, where am I going, what are my thoughts. So let this be your own, and really my focus is on finding some little things that we're doing anyway that can make a huge difference. With that, any challenge that I run, if you followed any of my stuff on Mindful Wellness, it's always about eat right, move right, think right. I don't really like the word right, but it's quick and easy. To me, it's eating more mindfully. Why am I putting this in my body? It's moving more mindfully. What is going to make me feel better and keep, you use it or lose it. And it's thinking in a way that's helping us get to the place we want to be, right? It's what I'm doing today, getting me closer to where I'd like to be. And if it isn't, why not? So all of these are an aspect of it. However, in what we're doing today and in the 10-day challenge, our biggest focus is just on that. What am I eating? And when I think of what is the easiest way for us to change, did I move too far, Tim? What's the easiest way for us to change what we're doing is we eat every day, right? We go to the grocery store. We either make food or we buy food. We can't live without eating. So we're doing it anyway. And the last time I was here, we talked about all of these things that we're trying to balance in our life. This is not intended to give you another thing that you have to do. It's intended to help you work smarter, not harder. In the meal plan, there's a grocery list. If you go to the store and follow that grocery list, you will spend less money because you won't go to the store the rest of the week. Everything you need is right there. You will spend a lot of time on the outsides of the aisles of the grocery store where things have to actually be chilled, right? Where things aren't processed. And you will have a plan that doesn't take long, I promise. You'll have a plan that throughout the day you know what you're eating in order to, at the end of the day, have all the nutrients you need. So if you are willing to follow it even for a few days, it will save you time, not create more time. And if you find a way to do it with camaraderie in your building, there are tons of things you can do, and I'll help you with that. Sometimes I've had people, this person brings lunch this day for 5 people, and the next day someone else does, and the next day someone else does. So there are a lot of ways to make it fun too. Truly, we know this. I talk about this every time that I come, but the idea of change, we're always changing. So change is scary. Sometimes change feels like a lot, another thing we have to do, but we're always changing. And if we're not consciously changing in a way that's getting us better, we might kind of slowly, without realizing, be changing in a way that's not necessarily in our best interest. So it's focusing on taking habits that we didn't even realize we had. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time cutting ourselves down for things we haven't done or anything like that. We're going to spend some time creating a few new habits, easy, quick things that save us money, save us time, and kind of set us up for success. That's the idea of it. Here's a few testimonials, and I'll let you read through them on your own. I'll just give you a little idea of each of these people. The first person is someone who ended up being a good friend of mine. The very first time I did this 10-day, I asked her to do it with me because I had no idea what I was getting into. I believed in the person who told me I should try it. That was it. Other than that, I had a lot of questions, a lot of what ifs, a lot of excuses that were true. I had 3 kids under 5, I think, and I thought, really, how am I going to do this? But she and I sort of ventured on this together just to see what it was. And I know she lost 6 pounds right away. It was the beginning of a complete change for her. And she, after all this, and not just because of this, but ended up getting married, having a baby, like all of these dreams that she had. And she still says when we go out for walks that that program sort of started all that for her. Some of the little things we thought about, some of the idea of taking care of herself. And she started to feel better and was more confident and believed, why not me? She'd look around at other people who, you know, were losing weight. It seemed like easier and whatnot. And so that's one of my favorite stories. The next one is a great lady that comes to a lot of my classes. And she would always say, she has this great accent. She would say, I don't understand. Now I'm doing 2 of your classes a day. And still these stubborn pounds. She'd always call them the stubborn pounds. And I would talk about this often. 3 years after I'd been doing it, she did it. And she does it every time that I do it now. She said, I don't know what I was afraid of, that it was great, it was easy. So that's kind of just a different type of story. And the last person is someone that now coaches with me. She actually runs these programs, and she's a lot like me. Some of the things that she said she learned are all the things that I'm hoping to talk about later, so she kind of gives it all away. But she really just felt like she had tried everything, and truly everything, and that this just made the most sense. It was easy, it saved her time and whatnot. So I'm probably the biggest testimonial. In fact, my kids, when I pulled this picture out, my 13-year-old said, no way, Mom, Carson was still inside you in that picture. And I said, no, he was born in April and this is July. He wasn't still there. So I grew up as, just a couple notes on me, because I want you to understand my journey, because I hope it helps, especially those of you who maybe feel like, I don't know where to start. I did a lot of things the hard way and a lot of things the wrong way. When I worked at Tipler, I was teaching, I think, 13 classes a week, fitness classes, and eating nothing that had fat in it, because if you don't eat fat, you can't be fat. Do you remember hearing that one? I was 20 pounds heavier then. What I was choosing to do was not working. I was trying really hard. I was doing a lot of things, but for my body, like overall sustaining, didn't work. Growing up, I was always overweight. I can tell you all the nicknames I had. And then I sort of kind of got myself I was working hard enough that I was sort of in shape. Then 2 kids, then 3 kids. And it just kind of slowly, right? You're doing things that you're getting by, you're feeding your kids, you're eating your bites of macaroni and cheese, see if it's hot. I mean, all the things that you don't even realize you're doing. That's what the 10-day taught me. When I would start to try my kids' food, I'd go, oh wait, this isn't on my plan. And I realized all the little things that I wasn't mindful of that were getting in my way. And so with that, the reason that I so focus on this is, until I changed, even when I started doing anything I tried, if I didn't change what was going on inside of me, it's hard for me to lose weight. Why is it tough for me? All of those things I believed completely. I'm getting older. It's harder when you're older. Everyone says that. Everything I believed was really getting in my way. And I'm a math teacher at heart. You know this. So I love every time I can bring in numbers. 90% of people that they found don't have permanent change because they aren't changing this. So when they've done different programs, any program, and they've added in a behavioral, thoughtful piece of it, people have long-term change. That's how we change, right? Inside out. And so this gives you some very tangible, I can buy this, I can eat this, but also infused in there, because it's me and I just like that stuff, is a lot of the thinking that might help us change some of those blocks. So if you do this program, you will get a daily email from me. It's not huge. It doesn't take a lot of time. I don't know if you read it or not. There's not a test. But every day, something that helps us with this whole motivating thing. It's one of my favorite. I love that quote, right? Motivation doesn't last, neither does bathing. You got to keep doing it. And so hopefully there will be this idea of we get kind of some control over our mind, why we're doing things, what we're doing, how we're doing them, and then we see results. Fitness is important. Don't let me tell you it isn't. I love it. I teach it. But truly, if you're going to make one change, and if you're busy, and if you're overwhelmed, and you're saying, I know I'm supposed to exercise. Where do I fit that in? Where do I this? If you focus on the nutrition, I promise you, the people who do this, toward the end or a month later when they're still in touch with me, they're saying, what can I do to exercise now? Because they're feeling energetic. They're feeling like, oh, I'm seeing results. This is great. But if you're going to focus on one thing, I promise you, you can't outrun your fork, right? True. I've tried it. I used to be able to tell you how many calories were in things I ate so I could try to work them off. It's awful. Like I said, done everything the wrong way. So I hope to share with you things that I found that are real small efforts. We have time for small efforts, right? In and out, when you do them, they'll just kind of create a change. It doesn't have to be big and overwhelming. Just try a few things and you'll see that. So I'm going to give you a few small changes that can make a difference. As I go through these, think about whether, even if you don't want to do a full 10-day program, you don't want to follow a meal plan, you don't want to use the grocery list, maybe there's one of these changes I talk about that's naturally infused in there that you could just do on your own anyway. Maybe you commit to that and supporting other people who want to do it. So first step, pretty simple, right? It's not rocket science. If you keep good food in your fridge, you're going to eat good food. True? So it's the whole idea of being one step ahead of yourself, setting yourself up so you're more likely to succeed than you are not to succeed, right? And if you have food near you that's easy to grab, or you stay ahead of it and you never get quite too hungry, you're not going to drive to the grocery store at 9 at night for your bag of junk food. But you're also not going to drive to the grocery store to create a really nice salad if you're starving and you have potato chips in front of you, right? It's just the idea of being ready. So some people at the beginning, and it's one of the emails I'll send out, will spend time kind of cleaning out their house a little bit. What don't I need any more of? And replacing it with some other things. That in and of itself will change things. And you gotta pull in Ben Franklin and give him some credit. Very true, right? It's true. I don't like the negativeness of this, but it's just true. If we are set up for success, if I pack my food and bring it with me to work, am I gonna eat what I need to throughout the day? Probably. If I don't, am I either going to skip a meal or grab something out of a vending machine or drink coffee for my lunch? Maybe, right? And that isn't necessarily setting me up. So there's one thing. The next, clean eating. I think we're all ahead of this, right? Nobody thinks that's clean eating. And clean eating, I've looked up the definition a lot of times. It depends who you are and what you're trying to push of what you call it. But in general, what I use, if I say, maybe I just say I'm going to try to eat clean for the next 2 weeks. Maybe that's my goal. Eat a whole lot more of what grows on a plant and a whole lot less of what's made in a plant, right? Just true. If your grandparents didn't think of it as a food, it probably isn't really one, right? So it's more of the food that your body, when you take it in, it says, oh, I know what that is, and I know what to do with that. And here's why this visual sticks with me. When your body knows what it's getting and why it's getting that, it knows how to use that as fuel. You will feel energized. People worry, what if I don't have energy on this 10-day? Oh no. At the end, people feel more energized. Can those of you who did it agree? I mean, even maybe not the first couple days, because you're breaking habits and you're trying to get new habits, and kind of like that baby that we feed at 2 a.m. We'll keep getting up at 2 a.m. to eat. Does it need to eat at 2 a.m. after months and months? Maybe not. At night, yes, I sometimes felt hungry and felt less energized because I was used to eating a lot at night, but it didn't take long before my body figured that out. So when we eat these kind of foods, the processed stuff full of sugar, full of all of that, our body has less energy. Have you noticed that? It doesn't feel as good. And it doesn't know what to do with it. So it says, let's put it over here for later, and it stores it as fat. And enough of that, it doesn't ever really figure out what to do with it, right? So that kind of just builds up over time. Here's a visual I like to use. And over the holidays is a good time that we remember it. We're doing a whole lot of things and maybe a few more drinks than normal or a few more snacks or treats than normal. When you eat junk, feel like junk. I kind of have a note to self thing that I use with that. If you eat nothing, feel like doing nothing, right? This is not about eating nothing, I promise you. It's about eating all day long. And if you eat well, you feel well. And so sometimes we have to sort of like an experiment. Diane was a science teacher. She was a great one. I used to be across from her room. In science experiments, you don't tell somebody what they're going to learn and then make them do the experiment, right? You give them the experiment, they do it, and they're like, wow, at the end, whatever they learned. And that's sort of what this 10-day is. Everybody learns something different about themselves, about food, about changes they can make and sustain. And so feeling well at the end, that wow feeling, is one of the biggest ones. This is huge. When we are hungry, bless you. When we are hungry, our body needs something, or it's trying to balance itself out. And so it needs nutrients. Well, when I was at Tipler, my favorite thing, my little afternoon when I had my prep hour, was to have fat-free pretzels and Diet Coke. Did I have a single nutrient in that? None. There wasn't. So I'd eat it. My stomach would be full for a little while, but I didn't get anything that was fueling my body, right? I felt full, and then what happened a little while later? Hungry, right? If you have something sweet and your blood sugar rises, what happens? I have a kid who does this. Oh my goodness. The second he crashes, we all know. It's like that hangry thing, right? Hangry. When it drops, your insulin kicks in because your body's trying to find this balancer, and you cannot burn fat when your body is pumping out insulin. It's impossible. So it's just this cycle that we can get on where we're hungry, we're not. We're this bouncing cycle that this plan helps us avoid. We're eating things for a reason. We're eating them. It's what we're eating. It's how we're pairing them that matters. It's when we're eating them that matters. And this just gives us kind of a little visual. I share this with you in greater depth if you do the 10-day, but carbs, yes, they fuel us, right? We need them. Certain kinds are better than other kinds, but we do need them. When do you think you need more of them? If they're your fuel, do you put gas in your tank after you get done driving all around, or do you put it in before, right? So it's pretty simple when we take it down, but we need more carbs earlier in the day, and you'll see that. We don't need quite as many at night. And protein, huge. Most people don't get enough protein. That's a big thing you'll find in this 10-day. People will say, why are there so many eggs? Why are there so many proteins? We need it. It fuels us. It helps with recovery. It feeds our muscle. So it's huge. Healthy fats, yeah, I was really bad at that. The healthy fats, huge. When bears hibernate, they eat the fat part of animals before they hibernate. Why? It takes their bodies so long to process that they are full longer. They sustain longer. So pairing a fat with a fruit, big difference, right? So there's all these things. You don't have to know why. You don't have to go to your building people and explain why. Just understand the science. There's a reason things are paired, and you'll feel better when you eat that way. As a little side note, also, you wouldn't drive your car without an oil change, right? We take better care of our vehicles, I think, than our bodies a lot of times. And we only get one body. You can turn your car in and get a new one, right? If you want to start this, if you're interested, just message me. There's a way to do this with like a 3-day cleanse that you can do ahead of time. And the idea of cleansing first is sort of an oil change. Then you're more able to absorb what you're eating. The 10-day is more about how you should always eat. It's not, it's not something, it's not this amazing thing, right? It's just how we should eat. It's teaching us how we should eat. So if you're interested in that, reach out. Very true. Doesn't mean starving ever. I've talked about that. And when we eat things makes a big difference for how we feel. If you don't get behind, if you don't ever get that hungry feeling, aren't you more likely to grab something healthy, right? When I wait too long to eat, that's when I'm going to grab something that isn't great and healthy. So it all comes down to this. Some of you have heard me say this. Do you remember this? A couple of you have. Our body is pretty primitive. It sort of acts like a caveman. If there's food, great. If we go for a long period without food, what does it think? There's no food. Oh, the hunt is done, the kill is done. So the next time that you eat, what does it think? I better store this. I don't know when I'm getting fed again. Truly, that is how your body works. It's how I could have been a lot heavier eating a lot less food. It doesn't make sense, does it? But if your body isn't trusting you that food keeps coming, it doesn't let go. It feels like it still needs to hold on. So this sort of teaches us that as well. And we talked last year a little bit about one healthy meal doesn't make you healthy, right? But one bad meal shouldn't make you unhealthy either. If you're eating consistently, you get to sort of splurge sometimes. It's okay. 80-20 is a good rule. And your body knows, oh, I don't need that. There's more food coming. I'm fine. Truly, it's about kind of reinstilling your metabolism and teaching your body to trust you. Use food as fuel, and then you don't need the rest. Sumo wrestlers, I was so interested when I read this article of how they train and how they eat. They're eating for a purpose, right? If I'm bigger, I can push somebody better, right? They wait as long as they can when they wake up to eat. They don't get up and have breakfast. They wait as long as they can. They eat a very carb-filled meal before they take a nap, and they eat at night before they go to bed. And they go from this little guy to that, right? So basically in the 10-day, we're doing the opposite. Complete opposite, and it works. So keep calm and eat breakfast. Yes. Do you have any guess? I usually you guys don't answer me when I ask, but in the podcast people can't. But any guess what percent more likely people are to be overweight if they skip breakfast? Any guess? Math teacher, I have to pull in these numbers. 450% more likely to be overweight if you skip breakfast. And my son, who's a math guy, says, how's that even possible, Mom? I said, well, you made 10,000 one year and you made 450% more the next year, right? You can figure out the math. But that says something, doesn't it? And it's not, and they're getting maybe less calories. They skipped a whole meal. It doesn't matter. It's about how your body chooses to use that. Why do we eat every 3 hours? Well, because once you burst your metabolism and start it, and you keep the fire going all day long, you are going to burn more calories just doing the natural things that you're doing anyway. So it's working smarter, not harder, right? Here's some other metabolism things, and most of these you'll learn if you decide to do the 10-day. We don't have to go through every one of them, but the first one, huge, drink plenty of water. The very first thing we start working on, even in the days leading up to it, as you're getting ready to do it, are you getting enough water? How many of you think you get at least 8-ounce glasses of water a day? If you're mindful of it, you're probably saying yes. If you don't even think about it, what do you think? Probably not, right? And I'm mindful of it, and I'm still really bad at it. I grab my coffee, and then I stop and think, oh, I need water. So you can put an app on your phone that reminds you to drink water. There's a lot of things you can do, but you burn 30% more calories in a day if you drink the right amount of water. So if I have a 2,000 calorie day, 600 are free because I drank my water. That's easy, right? Work smarter, not harder thing. Sleep. I just have to put this, the positive things that come out of this 10-day, I never know. I'm surprised every time, but I know people get more sleep, and I know that people's sleep is better. Even people who do this now with a Fitbit, and they're looking, they can't believe the difference. Because if you go to bed on an empty stomach, your body gets to do what it's meant to do overnight. It's not processing food. But I had one couple that when they did the survey at the end, and I said, what was your greatest benefit? They said, we're sleeping together again. And I thought, okay, gosh, do I even ask? And so when I talked to her, I saw her in a class, she said, oh yeah, he had to sleep on the couch. He was awfully snoring, this and that. 5 days in, he stopped snoring. I don't know why. I don't care why, but he's not the only person that I've seen that happen with. So I don't know if he was sleeping differently. I don't know. I just laugh at, the benefits that might come. You just never know. If you say, oh, I'm going to try this. And just as a side note, ladies, if you do this with a significant other as a guy, they lose a lot more weight than we do. It's just, you can kick them or whatever, they just do. But in the long run, you'll probably have more, long sustained changes. So just go with that. There's a lot of other things on here. I love number 13. laugh often. I try to send little things when I'm sending your slides that help you laugh. Maybe that's why. There we go. This is one of the signs. I shared this with you last year, but I added it in this morning. I just decided I should put it back there. One of the things that I send to people, if you want to put it up on your door or on your mirror or something, most people aren't crabby when they're doing this, but it's just a good thing to kind of warn people of. I have some better posters at the end that I'll share with you that you might want to give to people who decide to commit to this. So another thing that we'll do at the end, another thing I'll send to you, is to notice every non-skill victory. People who do this, we recommend that you weigh yourself at the beginning. I know that Diane was saying that will be one of the things we use to say, hey, has this worked? How well has this worked? And weigh yourself at the end. If you're trying to make changes for weight loss, those people who are, even if you feel like you have this huge road to go on and you don't know where to start, because I was there, take measurements too. Especially if you add in any kind of exercise, muscle weighs more than fat. The scale is not always our best representative of what's going on. You may see some real changes there too. Lots of other victory things that we'll celebrate, and we'll try to celebrate every step of the way too. People are actually sad when it's over, just that the camaraderie that comes with it. And so I just want to go through a couple major questions that I want all of you to hear, and then I'll stay and answer questions that you might have specifically too. Biggest one, well, what happens after the 10 days? Oh yeah, I get to be healthy for 10 days. Like, why would I do that? I have worked with a real good friend of mine who's a life coach, and we figured out an implementation plan that we go through at the end that helps you look at what worked for me. What can I keep doing? What can I stop doing? And the people who have done that have changed their lives. They've just made sustainable changes that to this day, I haven't had a Diet Coke since the first 10 day I did. I haven't had a soda since that was years and years ago, I think 8 years ago. So, what things are going to work for me? What can I keep doing? What do I need help with? And I will help you with that. A couple other huge questions. I'll just super quick. What if I don't like some of the foods? You have it in your little packet of everything. There's a substitution guide. It tells you how much of something you can substitute. I have vegetarians do this. You can substitute anything that you like for the same amount. You could substitute a whole day. You could say, hey, I like these 5 days. I'm going to do them twice. Great. That's fine. Make it work for you. We're trying to find things that we can do long term, right? You may find some new foods you like, though. My kids did. What if I want to commit to some parts, not all? I hope we've covered that, right? Whatever you're committing to for that time is great. What if I have something planned during that time, a wedding or something? We give you a 2-week period, and we'll talk about at the end about finding a good 2-week period. And within there, you pick the 10 days that work best for you. If you're going out to dinner, pick a day on the meal plan that has steak and Brussels sprouts. That's one of the dinners. And order that when you go out to dinner, right? So it's all about how does this work for me, not about having to stop your life so that you can do the 10-day. And the last one I'll spend just a couple minutes on. There is a shake every day, and you can go to the substitution guide and pick a different snack, right? When I first did this, I'll be totally honest, I like to think I'm really open-minded and optimistic, but I looked at it with my friend that we talked about at the beginning and said, I'm not drinking my calories, and just kind of dropped it. I wasn't going to do it. And I didn't want to drink something that wasn't real or whatnot. But I tried it. I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to try the whole thing. And at that time, they didn't have Shakeology. That wasn't an option. I did the whey protein shakes. And it was the number one thing that I said I'm going to keep doing every day. And then they came up with this. And so that's one of the options. It can replace any meal, and it can replace your shake. It is completely optional. You do not have to order anything or buy anything to do this program. But I always share this because the people who decide to kind of pull this in, that is a change across the board. 95% of the people that have ever done it just keep doing it because it's easy and they get all their nutrients in one day and they can replace something. If you look at that day and say, how am I going to do that? My kids have this practice and I have to be here and I have to be there. How am I going to make this meal? You drink this and you're done. This is what's in it, just to give you a quick idea. There's nothing like it on the planet. It's 70 all natural ingredients from all over the world. And in it, when you have one, the reason it replaces a meal, it also replaces your vitamins and anything else, is that it's got all your proteins and amino acids. That's the muscles. That's the building blocks to muscles. Antioxidants, all the super red foods you hear about, all the super green foods, phytonutrients. My immune system is crazy because I have one of these every day. Adaptogens is stress. It actually helps our body adapt to stress. That's in there. Prebiotics and digestive enzymes just help us absorb the real, the nutrients that we're getting anyway. So completely optional, but if you're here today, I brought some that you can try if you want to. But if you see that on the meal plan and you're wondering, what is it? I just want you to have some idea what it is. I have a lot of friends that coach and that you could get these from if you were interested. So it comes from the company Beachbody. The thing I don't like about the company is the name. I've always thought that, just Beachbody. But their theme is decide, commit, succeed. That's where this 10-day meal plan comes from. They have all different experts that worked on finding different plans. If you've done the 10-day and you want some other ideas, I have more meal plan days that I can give you. It's just the idea. First, I decide, right? I decide that maybe there's some things I could do differently. Maybe I'd feel better. Maybe my life would be a little bit better. And then I commit to something. And then I promise you, if you do that, you'll succeed. I just want to leave you with a couple thoughts. At the end, when I've done this and been able to sit with the group of people that have done it, most people, there's tears, there's emotions, there's truly what we find is it is ourselves we conquer, not the mountain. You find little things about you that, oh, wow, okay, if I make that one change, I can set myself up. I can be on my own side instead of in my own way. Just want you to take a moment to read these. So it's that idea of in one day, everything can change, right? So if you think of any major thing in your life, maybe one of these, it really happened in a moment. It was a moment where you decide to change something. It was a moment where something happened that you maybe didn't expect. And instead of us saying, especially for those of you listening that might be thinking, can I do this? Instead of us just being married to what we've always believed, oh, this is hard, I'm too busy. Someday I'll try to be healthy. Someday doesn't come. Someday we have to pay for what we've done that hasn't kept us, on our own side. And so maybe that is today. Maybe you help somebody in your building that says, well, you know what, I'll just try it. What do I have to lose? Because what do we have to lose? Besides the obvious, I guess. And so it's the idea of saying, why not me? Why not now? What am I waiting for? And being able to take your own power to choose. We're always choosing anyway what we're putting in our mouths. Maybe we do it a little more mindfully, and maybe we feel better for having done that. Here's a couple of the signs that if you do decide to do it, and if anyone in your building decides to do it, that I can send to you that you can use as a poster if you'd like. And just know if you have any questions, I'll stay and answer them. If you have a question from the podcast, reach out, email me, text me, ask. And I hope that you just commit to something for 2 weeks, something that would make you at the end of it feel like a little bit better version of you, like you're doing something for you. So thank you. I hope that helps answer some questions, and let me know what other questions you have.